Alright, I'm pretty sure everyone watching this video has seen or heard about Bobbi Althoff, and just like me, you were like, where did this girl come from, and how did she get Drake on her third podcast ever? In this video, we'll cover her mysterious takeover of the internet and why her career might be in danger. Let's get into it. But before we get into it, I just want to thank you guys for all the support on my last video. I didn't even think the video would do as well as it did, considering it was my first upload ever. But after uploading it, I went from 80 subs to just over 2,000 and met all the requirements for monetization. On top of that, all the comments were so positive. Like, this guy called me an industry plant because he liked the quality of the video so much, which I thought was hella funny. Moving forward, I'm going to try to upload a video every Tuesday or Wednesday, and we'll be uploading 1-minute shorts throughout the week. So subscribe and turn on post notifications and screenshot it just so you have proof you were an OG. But back to the topic. Before I get into why I think Bobbi Althoff is an industry plant, let me explain it to the people in the back. An industry plant is a term very commonly used in the music industry when an artist suddenly has an astronomical rise and starts working with some of the biggest artists on the planet. They essentially start receiving opportunities and attention that someone normally wouldn't get at the start of their career, and this is where the term industry plant comes from, because people feel like there's somebody in the background pulling these different strings and controlling the career of this person to make them basically come out of nowhere and seem bigger than life. The story you've probably heard of Bobbi Althoff's rise goes like this. She initially gained an audience on TikTok by being a mother influencer. She would pretty much post parenting advice and funny videos with her kid on TikTok, which led to a decent following. In an interview with The Cosmopolitan, she said, "When I started my podcast in April, I wanted to do interviews with celebrities, but I didn't know how I was going to get there. It was really hard to get guests, so I made a video on TikTok saying that I would give $300 to any person who successfully connected me to a celebrity for a podcast." Comedian Rick Glassman ended up being her first guest because a girl tagged him on the video, and he responded with, "Okay, I'll do it." So she sent her $300 and did the episode with Rick Glassman. She then used the same tactic to get Funny Marco on her next podcast because they have the same style of dry humor. She would then say, "The Funny Marco interview got so much views that Drake liked and followed her, so she shot her shot through the DMs, and Drake agreed to do the podcast." I can give Bobbi's story the benefit of doubt up until the part about shooting her shot with Drake in the DMs. I mean, he has only done 3 on-camera interviews since 2016, and for this girl to get him on her third podcast episode ever is crazy. But if you dig a little deeper, things start to make sense. Bobbi Althoff is married to Corey Althoff, who is a senior vice president of CompTIA and has also been featured in Forbes. Some people speculate this is how she was able to get connections in the industry, but this was quickly shot down by Bobbi herself. But then DJ Academics would reveal that Bobbi Althoff is actually signed to a talent agency called WME.
Like, even though that maybe she knows that Drake would respond, because Drake is not responding to every woman. This is where everything else comes into play. So she signed to WME.
But here's what Bobbi had to say about WME. She says she actually signed with WME after she dropped a snippet of the Drake interview.
I posted the thing. I got a message from Andrew at WME. He says, like, "I'm part of the touring team. Can we talk?" I said, "Okay." And then
so you just didn't meet with anybody else? You're just like, this guy hit you from
first person. Boom.
Well,
so you signed with them after Drake.
Yeah.
Because the plant theory
I know is that they helped
like
me get him.
William Moore signed you.
Yeah, I know. I hate that. They're taking credit for my
Yeah, they're
my
you did it.
So she signed a contract with no lawyers involved the same day a random guy at WME reached out to her. I don't know who in their right mind would do this. If she legitimately got the Drake interview on her own, she would have all the leverage and be able to shop around different talent agencies. But the thing is, WME is competing with another talent agency called UTA, aka United Talent Agency. UTA has a lot of major podcasts under their belt, including DJ Academics, Call Her Daddy, and damn near every other popular podcast you can think of. So how does WME compete against UTA, who have basically monopolized the podcasting game? Well, they sign a girl like Bobbi Althoff, and they have her interview Drake and Lil Yachty. And guess who Drake and Yachty are signed to? William Morris Endeavors, aka WME. To say you just shot your shot and got the biggest guest on your third podcast episode sells a fantasy to other aspiring content creators trying to come up, when in reality she was chosen by the people you and me don't see behind the scenes. But who knows, Drake probably genuinely wanted to do the interview. It literally works out for all the parties involved. Drake gets to show a different side of him on camera. Bobbi's numbers skyrocket, and WME now has a podcast under their belt competing with Joe Rogan. But I highly doubt it was through his DMs and more likely through WME. Just imagine how much Instagram messages Drake gets on a daily basis, especially when he's on tour. I just want to say I'm not making this video to hate on Bobbi or take anything away from her. When people hear the term industry plant, they immediately assume the most negative things. Just because someone is clearly backed by some money doesn't mean they aren't talented. I could personally care less if it is very obvious that someone is backed by some money, because in most businesses it takes money to make money. I'm more interested in whether the product is good or not. Some people even consider Travis Scott an industry plant. If you know, you know. And a lot of people love his music. What I'm trying to say is that does it really matter if someone's a quote-unquote industry plant? You either like their art or you don't. A lot of celebrities have some sort of budget behind them. Business is business, but Bobbi's situation is different, and here's why her career is in danger. The drama with Bobbi started after a clip from her Drake interview went viral, where she basically pretended to not know who Lil Wayne is.
What's your profile picture on Instagram? Is that your dad?
What?
The person on your Instagram page?
It's Lil Wayne.
Who's that?
Stop this.
Who's Lil Wayne?
Stop this.
Can you play me a Lil Wayne song?
There's absolutely no way. I refuse. If you don't know who it is, I won't play it.
And she would do the same thing in an interview with Lil Yachty and claim she doesn't know who Young Thug is.
It was worth the money.
I
There
hope
was many
one day.
routes I could have took. Could have
What?
been way cheaper.
Yeah, how did you find that?
Cause I wanted Young Thug's dentist. He had the best veneers
Who's
I ever
that?
seen.
Who?
Young Thug.
Who's that? Does he sing as well as you?
Okay, maybe she genuinely doesn't know who Young Thug is. Not knowing who Young Thug is one thing because he isn't super duper popular like Lil Wayne, but pretending like you don't know who Lil Wayne is insane, persona on or not. It makes it look like she's only using urban culture for her own benefit without knowing anything about it, and this obviously rubbed people the wrong way. But the drama would only get worse after she went on the BFF podcast and made this comment about the Lil Yachty interview.
But I walked into his
I
house and it
kinda
was
like
super awkward because like
those, though.
he's really kind of awkward, and I've heard that going into it. But me with another awkward person is like, I think it's because you guys are awkward. Maybe that's why. But if you
Are
guys are
not
awkward,
or are?
you guys aren't.
Oh,
Because
thank
he was awkward. I walked into his house. He didn't even like say hi to me. So then I was like, said, let's go to the bathroom. So then we go to the bathroom, and then we like get out, and then he's like, he's just sitting there with like his two assistants, and he's not even acknowledging that I'm like in the room, and my
I
camera
would've
guy's
lost
like
my mind.
setting up. I'm just sitting there like
Skin
on
crawling.
my phone, like I'm like trying, and then he comes up, he's like, oh hi, gives me like a half hug, and I'm just like hi, then goes back to his spot, and I'm like, dude, I don't even want to do this. I'm texting my friend like, Ashley, I need to leave, this is so awkward, I don't want it, like what am I doing here?
People were basically saying she was biting the hand that feeds her and acting ungrateful. I also seen an argument on Twitter going viral saying she only turns on her dry humor persona when she's interviewing rappers and turns it off when she's on other podcasts, if you know what I mean. Compare her Mark Cuban and BFF podcast to her Lil Yachty and Drake one. She is being given pretty good opportunities by these artists that don't need her. Lil Yachty did not need Bobbi Althoff to sell thousands of copies of his newest album. Let's start here. Drake doesn't need Bobbi Althoff to break the streaming records every time he drops a new album. These are two established people with names and brands way larger than hers. And honestly, they're doing her the favor going out of their way to do her show, and this is how she repays them. And then the gasoline got poured on the fire after she uploaded a TikTok acting very unamused while at a Drake concert. After this went viral, the whole biting the hand that feeds you conversation came up again. To do this to the person who kind of gave you a whole career is crazy. But after this, the two would unfollow each other on Instagram, and their podcast with over 10 million views was deleted. And there were a couple of theories that ran around about why this happened. Dave Portnoy said this.
Ivana's like, I heard that Bobbi slept with Drake and is getting divorced. So I asked her. I DM'd Bobbi.
What? You asked her, did you sleep with Drake and are you getting a divorce?
Yeah. She's like, I'm not commenting on that publicly.
Wait, so you just outed her?
Oh.
You just outed her not public comment?
But Bobbi would respond and deny these claims and say, I did not want to do this podcast in the first place, and now so much negative energy is coming from it. I'm going to leave this alone after this, but this is the uncensored DM between Dave and I. Bobbi is low-key self-sabotaging her career. First of all, you can't be an obvious industry plant because of the negative connotation it has in the entertainment industry. But I guess she can't really do anything about that. But to go on and do things that make you unlikable literally puts her down 2-0. Bobbi is giving people a reason to hate her by the way she changes her temperament depending on who she is talking to, acting ungrateful and biting the hand that feeds her. Things like that aren't going to help anyone's career, especially in podcasting when you need guests to come on your show. Why would another rapper come on your podcast if you're just going to talk behind their back like you did to Yachty? Bobbi is a hot topic right now, so if a rapper does decide to come on the show, it's strictly for numbers and to reach a new target audience. But thing is, everyone who's going to watch the podcast episode probably already knows who the guest is. The target audience the rapper hopes to reach is someone who wouldn't listen to their music in the first place. Offset, for example. Bobbi has an interview coming out with him sometime in the future. If Offset asked her to name 3 Migos songs, she would probably fold, but Offset already knows this, but is still going to do it because everyone's seen how viral her Drake interview went. Everyone who's going to watch that podcast episode is already an Offset fan or knows of him. If Bobbi's audience consists of people like her, this means people who don't know who Lil Wayne is. They probably aren't going to check out Offset's music, rather they are strictly watching for the dry humor. So to me, it really seems like the only incentive to go on the podcast right now is numbers. And as time goes on, her numbers probably aren't going to be as big as they are now. I predict a year from now, she probably isn't going to be interviewing rappers or anyone in the culture. If her numbers go down, rappers have no incentive to awkwardly talk to Bobbi on camera, someone who knows nothing about them or their profession, just for her to go on another podcast and talk bad about said rapper behind their back and act unamused at their concerts. But if this ends up being her whole downfall, it would have to be the fastest rises and falls in the podcast space ever. But those are just my thoughts and opinions on the whole situation. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and make sure to follow all our socials, especially our backup Instagram. Our main page was disabled at 200k followers, but we'll definitely get the account back. But yeah, thanks for watching. Sub and like if you find it in your heart to do so. And yeah, 19th out.